Hello there guys, Nani Emsu from the Crypto Doctor, and here today I'm going to be reviewing the Crypterium ICO. So in this video I'm going to give a brief overview on what Crypterium is all about and everything I found out about them, and then after that I'm going to make a short overview on my spreadsheet. So let's get down to business.
Bring it back.
So first of all, what is Crypterium? Now Crypterium wants to be the crypto bank. Now we know how the space doesn't work well with the banks, but stay with me here. Let's see what the idea behind Crypterium is about. So first of all, they have this general idea on the world going global and people needing a banking system to be able to help people go through this system. But now what are the main core ideas that they have? One, they have mobile crypto bank. Now the mobile crypto bank means you have all your currencies or your money stored up on your bank through your wallet and all, and then you get to be able to spend them using their mobile applications, which gives you this wireless or contactless connection, which thereby eliminates the need for Visa or MasterCard. Then the second is they have the crypto lending system, in which they're going to lend you out tokens using their sub tokens, which I'll get to a bit later. And when these tokens are lended to you, you use them to buy different tokens of your choice, and at the time made you send it, you give it back to them. So just like loaning in banks and so on and so forth. Then also they talk about the crypto acquiring for merchants. Now merchants can come and acquire cryptocurrencies from them, and then an open API for developers, where developers can come and make smart contracts on the platform and build and go on and so forth. Now some of the things you want to know is they talk about the credit system, where you take credit at different rates, which is the lending part, which is the most kind of confusing area to it all, but I'll get to that all in a bit. Now the token economics, you are going to have some things to explain here. Now they talk about, okay, first of all, this is all the information you can find. You can go to the presentation to read, and then here the solutions they tend to offer, which is NFC Visa payments, where you just without contact and supposed to be very fast, as you can see illustrated in the picture. And then we have for the merchants, payments at any kind of form, where they cover payments for shops, online stores, streets, retails, and so on and so forth. Then the sub tokens, which I'll get to and on the spreadsheet. Now some other things we want to discuss are this API system. Now this API system is a very confusing aspect of the banking, but it's just they have their Crypterium platform with an open API, and any developer can come on it and create smart contracts on it, something like Ethereum. And during my research, I went on their Facebook page, and they had this interview. In an interview, they spoke about why they chose the name Crypterium, and they said when they had an interview with Vitalik, the creator of Ethereum, they thought, okay, why not combine crypto with Ethereum, which then gave them the name Crypterium, so crypto Ethereum, which kind of sounds catchy. Actually like the idea. Now crypto tokens, the 0.5%. Now I'll try to explain this as much as I can. Now these tokens, when you make your transactions using their crypto tokens, now these tokens tend to be used, you tend to be charged a 0.5% charge, and now this 0.5% charge is supposed to be used as fuel. Now this fuel is going to be burnt to facilitate the transaction process. Now this means that it's going to lead to an increase in, or a decrease in supply, as I would say, because a decrease in supply will now mean every time a transaction is made, 0.5% is burnt. And then also the charges or the transaction fees or revenue gotten from merchants, that is the 30%, is going to be shared to different people on the platform. Now depending on the amount of coins you hold from the bronze level all the way to the platinum level, you're going to get different allocations of this money gotten. So more incentive to stay and it's now they have a story on how they are already a working platform of the blockchain, and they're trying to get on the blockchain to make seamless transactions, to make the first mobile bank, and so on and so forth. Then the ICO section. Now the ICO section is a bit big because the pre-ICO kind of has different aspects to it, which then controls different gains, I guess. And first of all, it's tomorrow on the 21st, we are going to have registration onto the token. So something like a whitelist. And when you get registered, you can now go into the ICO where you have bonuses from the early sale on the 31st, the bonus sale, and then eventually get into the main token sale, which will eventually end on the 25th, sorry, on the 13th of January, and then you should get your tokens from the 14th of January to the 25th of January. Now, the ICO roadmap or the amounts expected. Now, the minimum is supposed to be 500 Bitcoin. You can convert that, but I've already done that on the spreadsheet, and you can get some more information. So now that's okay. Token allocation, I'll get to that on the spreadsheet. And finally, the team. Now, the team generally, from what I've seen, it consists from mainly there are people that have done things in the financial sector, banking, and some ICOs, and so on and so forth. But mainly the advisory team, it's kind of okay. And I tend to notice that they're mainly based towards banking, people that did a lot of things in banking, in Visa, in MasterCard, and also people in the law sector. So they're trying to make sure they're not securities, I believe. So you can see some of the and all their LinkedIn links are here, so you can go up and check up on them. But from the look of it, the team is not mostly all-star from what I've seen, but the team is at an average. So let's get to the spreadsheet. Now, on my spreadsheet, I have a couple of parameters that I use to grade these ICOs, and I'm still working on it. But at the top here, you can see we have Crypterium. Now, Crypterium, we have the main token, which is going to be abbreviated as CRPT, and then we have the CRED token. Now, the CRED token, as I've stated here, is a sub token. It doesn't have any main relationship with the CRPT token. Now, the CRPT token is the main token, but the CRED token is what people tend not to understand most of the times. It is the token that will be lended to you. So, for instance, you want to buy Bitcoin, and then you go to them, you get the CRED token, and then you convert this CRED token to Bitcoin. And during as the time expires, you give it back to them at the exchange rate that was set. So the audience in this case is digital banking and developers. It's a platform which is kind of good because we have different types of currencies, privacy currencies, platforms, masternodes, builders, and applications. Then next we have the description, crypto bank for crypto economy. Now they are based on the Ethereum tokens ERC20. Tokens cannot be mined after the ICO, so they are all pre-mined. Now they also have this know your customer. Definitely, you can't be what they call it, security. Definitely, so they have to know their customer. Then here we have the amounts for the ICO. Now this could fluctuate because the amount of the ICO amount is calculated in Bitcoin, so in 0.0001 BTC. So on a daily basis, when you want to buy this token, if you want to buy this token, you should convert it first, and that is generally how most of the tokens are converted. Even you can see the hard cap, which I feel is quite much, and I don't think it's going to be achieved, but I believe that will help a lot if it could get somewhere. Now you can see some of the ratings of some of the top ICOs in the past, and you can see what they had. So a hard cap of 14,500 Bitcoin is quite much. Now we have the tokens sold, or tokens to be sold. which is 2,210 million tokens out of 300 million tokens. Now this is 70%, which is quite average and okay, because it gives room for the investors to get a lot of tokens. Now the minimum investment, as you've seen, is 500 Bitcoin, and which is converted to this at the current exchange rate, or the exchange rate as at when I made this spreadsheet. Then incentivization, yeah, the 30% given from the fees of the merchants, as you can see. Then the wish list, which is registration onto the platform, happening tomorrow. We have the start of the pre-sale, which will start on the 31st, and then we have ending of the pre-sale on the 27th. Now you can get discounts from 30% to 3%, as you've seen on the website. Now you can check that out. It's divided into different levels depending on how much you invest for the early part, and then as you go lower it becomes a bit more loose for you to get different percentages, but you can be sure to get from 3 to 33% of your investments during the pre-sale. Now minimum investment, there isn't any minimum investment, so you can invest. The minimum from what I saw was 1 token. So at the time I made this spreadsheet, which will be 60 cents. Now go to the ICO. Now there's something peculiar about their methods of payment. Now they accept Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then they also accept fiat, which from what they said, they intend to accept payments in Visa and MasterCard, which is phenomenal because most ICOs only accept Ethereum and Bitcoin, and people are like, okay, maybe this ICO could be scamish and could run with my money, but if they accept money in Visa and MasterCard, it gives you the chance to be able to get refunds easier, and so it's kind of a bit more straightforward at the end of the day, I guess, for this. But also when I was watching the video on the Facebook interview, they spoke about you can also pay for the platform using coin payments, any currency accepted by coin payments, which was not stated on the white paper or anywhere. So I guess maybe that's just side information. Now we have the date of start of the ICO on the 28th of November, and then it ends on the 13th of January. Tokens adjustment. Now it is, from what they said, you can see where you find this information. Tokens are going to be burnt. All tokens not sold during the ICO will be burnt, and no new tokens will be produced. So I'm looking forward to seeing, because usually when you have this burning of these tokens, you get inflation on the price because there are less tokens and there's more market cap, less supply and higher demand. So, and also they are going to continually burn the tokens. I tend to even feel like they are arsonists at a point, because the tokens are just going to keep being burnt. 0.5% of the transaction fees that will be gotten from every transaction will be burnt. So burning tokens all over. Now there was no extra information I was able to parallel up to add to this. Then now we go to the coin grading. Now for the team, I give them a 4 because of the kind of the team, and as you can see here, this is how I grade the team on my own grading. And then for the community, I give them a 2 because okay, the general community was mostly on Facebook and Telegram. Now Facebook had the interview and they had posts on regular. I had some posts from 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago, and so on and so forth, maybe preparing for the upcoming registration, I guess. Then also these are the numbers I found on Facebook. They had 16,466, on Twitter 1,499, LinkedIn, Bitcoin Talk, where they had a short version of everything they're planning to do. On Telegram they had 1,025, and then on Medium, which I wasn't so used to, I didn't have an account, so, but I know that they have 29 followers, possibly the team, I guess. Then for the idea, they have a good idea, which I thought, okay, give them a 3 for the idea. And then we have the roadmap. Now there's a roadmap, and the roadmap was detailed with what they intend to do, but I don't know if at the time allocated will be enough for the establishment of this. So I give them a 2 on that. And then something to show for it now. They fall under the established companies trying into blockchain. They're coming into the blockchain. So they have something to be held for, I guess. And for competition, now this is where they have a lot of competition. Now I give them a 1 on that, which is very low, because now they have to compete with MasterCard, Visa, and every other payment method out there. But also on the blockchain, we have some different payment methods coming up. We have 10x, we have 10can, and so on and so forth. So the competition is quite much. Now for the popularity is quite low. They're not known a lot on YouTube and most social media because their following is actually even weak generally. I don't know what they're doing wrong, but popularity just started going up a bit because a lot of advertisement has been coming up of late on YouTube from their YouTube channel. Yeah, and they have a YouTube channel. Securities, I don't think they are securities because of different parameters that I use to grade security. Now you can see them if they give incentives. Yeah, they do, but also they hope to get on exchanges early enough. They have a stated time to get on the exchange, so I think that might help. Then also legality, I told you they work mainly with a lot of banks, a lot of bank related people working on their team and on their advisory team. So kind of, and a lot of legal personnel on their team and advisory team as well. Then finally, if the ICO is prohibited for USA citizens. Now a lot of ICOs are prohibited to USA citizens, but this one is actually not prohibited for USA citizens. So, but their main markets are Russia, USA, and then Europe, I guess. So that has been my review on the Crypterium token. If you have any questions, do leave them in the comments down below, and see you next time. Peace out.
Will banks still be with us in 5 years' time? Definitely, but in a new revolutionary form.
When crypto economy are predicted to break $10 trillion, CryptoBank will be leading the way.
Crypterium to be at the forefront of this banking revolution.
At Crypterium, we have the experience and strong vision to become an early mover leader crypto bank and take a key role in shaping the future of banking. Be part of that vision and take part in the ICO.